Uh, Hello, everyone. We are live, and this time we are live on Instagram and YouTube at the same time. Welcome to Talk Live with your host E-Rock. Sorry for the little delay. Had a few technical glitches, but we're getting better. We're getting better all the time. Thank you for joining us here on Talk Live. We are back, mic in hand, and ready to go for the grand. So, thank you for joining me tonight on Talk Live here on IG and YouTube. We are back on YouTube. Yes, indeed. I said, so promised. We are doing it. We are getting it done. And I thank you for joining us tonight on Talk Live. I see some of the usual streamers coming in, and we will begin. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on Talk Live. And this one's going to need a stiff one. I'm going to need a stiff drink this time with this one. Again, Talk Live today is sponsored by Done Talk. The new fall line I've got on right now is out right now. And you can check it out on donetalk.com. As you can see, different background, different moods. We're changing it up a bit, guys. Slowly but surely, you're going to see a few more changes phased in, and you're going to like it. Believe me, you are going to like it. And thank you for joining me again on Talk Live on IG and YouTube as we proceed. Now, we're going to talk about tonight a emerging issue, an emerging problem. And hello to my friends there on YouTube. Yes, we see you. We are back. And thank you for joining us. Thanks for sticking around with us tonight. Again, on my second solo flight, we built, as my man KS said, we build it while we fly it. And yeah, we're going to keep on building. We're going to keep on flying. So thank you for joining me here tonight. Okay, so let's talk about it. It is something that is come up in the modern day. The fact that, hey, young men aren't having sex like they used to have. They are not. And you wonder why. And you got to say it. It is an issue. It is an issue. So let me make sure that our browsers are fully integrated and located. What's the projector output there? Don't know about that. Anyways. Yes. Yeah. So So again, young men aren't having sex to the usual extent they used to have. Not like they did in the the 80s, the 90s, the early noughties. Sex is on the decline. Sex is on the slowly decreasing level, and there's a problem with that. It's a huge problem with that, and you'll see later on in time. But right now, we're going to just start dealing with the factors and the reasons why young men aren't having sex with the same proficiency and the same just the same amount that they used to have. And it is become a problem, especially in this day and age. And again, we're gonna get to it and do it here on Talk Live. And we're gonna just gonna start with the discussion with this here. Yes. If you can see it on Talk Live here, I'm wondering why it's not syncing with my stream top. Let me see here. Video. Yes, I'm just wondering if everything is going right there. Oh, there we go. I wonder if the browser's working here. But anyways, we're going to get to that in just one moment. There we go. Chat box. Let's go. Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay, we're going to get on to it. Let's do it. Here's the deal. Less and less young men are having sex these days, to be fair and frank, and it has become a problem in today's society. Let's just get to the statistics really quick. Thank you for joining us here on Talk Live, live on IG and on YouTube. Yes, indeed. Hello, Troy. How are you, sir? Good to see you. And we're going to get to it. But yes, you know what? Hold on just one moment, please. Let me get back to you in a second here. Yeah, because I just wanted to show this on YouTube. But if you're on IG, thank you for joining us on IG, and thank you for joining us on Talk Talk Live, which is becoming a bit of an issue on YouTube, which I don't discernibly like. But there we go. Let me see here. Oh right, okay. Yes. Okay. So let's go. Why young men aren't having sex these days? Let's dive into it. Let's dive into it. It says here. This is from the website Healthline. A new study indicates that men and women between the ages of 18 and 24 are having sex less often these days. Hello, Dimples. How are you? Yes, indeed. Hello, Troy. They're having sex less, and the decline is being seen around younger adults, particularly young men, as I was saying. Well, it says here about 1 to 3 men in about the ages of 18 to 24 reported no sexual activity in the past year, according to a new study. So, 1 out of 3 young men, 18 to 24, are not having sex. They're just not. There are reasons for that, and we'll get to it. Let me see here. The study also found that sexual activity declined significantly. Here's a big one. Among men and women the ages of 25 to 34. So 7% versus 14% amongst men, 7% versus 12% amongst women. So sex is on a decline. Now, they didn't decline. Where it didn't decline is adults aged 30 to 44. I think it's more of a generational gap. I think it's more of a something that has to do with, the fact that we're ages 35 to 44 aren't really attached to certain distractions that are out there, and we'll explain that to you a bit later. But fewer adults are reported having sex weekly or more frequently. So again, unmarried, low income, unemployed, or part-time employed men were likely to have more have had no sex within the past year than those who were married, had higher income, or had jobs. There it is. I'll repeat that again. Unmarried, low income, and unemployed part-time employed men were more likely to have had no sex in the past year than those who were married, higher income, and had jobs. I had sung it on a previous show that there's an old song that goes something like this: nothing going on but the rent. You got to have a job if you're going to be with me. More so in 2022. So again, it is an issue that we need to that needs to be addressed, because again, the repercussions are quite negative, if I do say so myself. Thank you for joining us on Talk Talk Live here live on IG and YouTube. You know what? Let me 1 second. Let me come back to you. 1 second, please. We are back, people. We are live. Thank you for joining me. I am returned, and seem to be some technical difficulties on the YouTube side. Do apologize for that, but we're going to continue. We're going to move on. And yeah, that's an issue. That is an issue. Again, yes, indeed. Projector output. Oh, it's home. Anyway, so let me see. Let me go here. Let's get back to it. Here we go. So the study found that that even among people who are having sex frequently declines. So let us move on here. Yes, let's move on to some of the factors that are involved with that. So in a commentary, let me see. In a commentary accompanying the survey results, a professor of psychology in San Diego State said that similar declines in sexual activity have been shown in surveys in Great Britain and the United States. So this is a worldwide issue. This is a worldwide problem, and that needs to be tackled and addressed. And it's not just young men that are having sex less than a generation ago. It's young women too. So women have chosen to divest themselves. And the reasons being, first of all, digital distraction. Let's get to it. Porn isn't exactly the issue, but since research says that pornography users are actually more sexually active. So it's not it's an issue with porn. I think it has to do with social media, and it goes on to say that although internet sites and social media should theoretically make it easier to find new sexual partners, time spent online has also displaced time one spends on face-to-face social interactions. So people aren't meeting anymore. People aren't joining in on chats anymore. People aren't being as socially viable as they once were. I think the new generation, especially Zennials these days, are involved with in different things. Social media, Instagram, Snapchat, any sort of online sort of gamings or different systems or different shows, binge watching shows. These are all things that all men and women seem to get into, and it's taken away from their sexual activity. They are finding other things to do. Simple as that. And so it says here, between the 24-hour availability of entertainment and the temptation to use smartphones and social media, sexual activity may not be as attractive as it once was. So people are finding out other things to do. They'd rather not have sex. Simple as that. They'd rather not have sex. Put simply, there are now more choices of things to do in the late evening than there was when there were few opportunities to initiate sexual activity if both partners are engrossed in social media, electronic gaming, or binge watching. There it is. So people are finding other things to do. Simply put, and I thank you for joining me on Talk Live on IG and on YouTube. You can see the changes that are slowly functioning in, and yeah, we get used to them, and we thank you for joining me here. So women are more empowered to say both yes and no, and intolerant of coercion and forced sex. So again, more women are choosing other alternatives. More men are choosing other alternatives. And again, it doesn't help when you have COVID-19 hanging over your head as well. That is I think, the world is less sexual because of COVID-19. So that was an issue. A lot of people were isolated. A lot of people were alone. So that decreased the amount of sex that was being had. But it's only risen incrementally and not to the levels of those 25 to 30 years ago. So let me see. So again, we can move on to another issue here in scientific on this article from Scientific America, and people have been human sexual activity affects both cognitive health. Let me see, and the reasons why other people are moving on from sex. They say human sexual activity. Oh, hello there. How are you, everyone? I am Kasich. How are you? How are you? Good to see you. Now, they say human sexual activity, health, happiness, overall quality of life. And yes, there is also the matter of reproduction. However, people are looking away from that. A recent study evaluating what is happening in the U.S. has added to the pile of evidence showing declines from 2009 to 2018 in all forms of partnered sexual activity, including penile vaginal intercourse and sex and partner masturbation. Just looking away from it. They're getting away from it, guys. So, and the decreases aren't trivial, as they say here. So, again, what might this explain the declines? Well, for young people, computer games, increased social media and video games, streaming, they've all taken over. They'd rather watch TV. They'd rather use social media. They'd rather play video games. They'd rather be in their little in their little groups and cubicles, and people rather than have sex themselves, which is something. It's stunning, really. I mean, I have examples, that are, in my own family who say they'd rather have their social they rather have their social media. They'd rather have their groups in which to play video games with rather than have sex. They'd rather be asexual. Think about it. Although there's a proliferation of sexual sexual activities and sexual genders, they don't seem to want to have sex in the first place. They'd rather be among their friends and enjoy life that way. So that's a definite change. But again, with all these distractions that are there for all to see, it's a bit of a problem. So we don't know this individual, Mr. Herbnik, who's written an article about archives of sexual behavior. This scientist says that there are multiple amount of different age groups, different partnership statuses, different genders. You don't need those individual pieces to explain a big part of notable decreases, but one might explain the percentage of one or two. So it's a bit of an issue. And let me see that one part of the article that I wanted to get to. Let's see. Yes, here we go. Various studies around the world have proposed different explanations, such as economic status. Lower income is also associated with great declines. One study looked at the use of computer games among young people. Some folks have tracked declines to alcohol use. Yes. And we know that alcohol use can be associated with disinhibition. We have seen somewhat an increase in sex toy use. Wow. From what we looked at, not a massive increase. If there is a change, it's probably just going to contribute to one of the blips. I don't expect it to be the explanation, but there's a myriad of things that I want to get into. But again, some people just like doing it on their own. They'd rather not, take the time to meet people. They'd rather not take the time to go through the process of getting laid. They'd rather not, see themselves, have to spend the expense in order to consider themselves eligible for sex. They'd rather not go out and jump the hurdles. They'd rather just live their lives and be a bit more asexual. Some people are there's a rising group of asexual individuals these days. They'd rather not have sex at all. So, but again, as Herbnik in the Scientific American magazine says, sexuality is such an important part of life, and understanding changes that occur matters how we understand what is shifting about the human experience. It's a part of the human experience that we're neglecting. We are, and if you want to leave that human experience in the hands of robots, which is coming, in the hands of artificial intelligence, it's coming. Some people would rather not force themselves out; they'd rather stay in, and that's the growth of the incel. This is where it comes from. Involuntary celibacy is a thing these days. It is. And if we're not careful, it may be that, artificial intelligence are looking after us rather than ourselves. And the growth of that could mean a whole different amount of manifestations. So, again, let's see here. There we go. Just another comment. Ultimately, we don't live in a vacuum, and our sex lives don't occur in a vacuum. There are myriad of factors. The past 2 years have also brought out a lot of grief, as we said, with COVID. There are, with COVID, related challenges, job loss, financial status. Again, if you have a job, if you have a family, if you have a life, you tend to definitely have sex. So it's only for the chosen few nowadays. It's only for the privileged few, if you think about it. So even though sex is free, sex comes at a cost for some reason. So there's that to be thinking about. So all these influences on sexual interest and sex drive, it's lowered over the last couple of years. But again, with all these distractions, Is it any wonder? No, I don't think it is. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, I did want to play a video here, but unfortunately, it is not available on my site for some reason, which is amazing. Let me see here if I can get it going. No, that's the chat box. Okay, let me see. I don't know why the browser isn't working for some reason. Yes, but anyways, but from what I saw here, we'll go back to the full cam here, and I will play it maybe on audio just for you. And again, it is a video by Courtney Ryan. She's a YouTuber and a very popular one at that. And she was saying that a third of men under 30 aren't having sex. Here's why. And again, I am going to play a little bit for you here. Hopefully you can hear it. If not, then but again, you know what? Yeah, let's see if we can do this.
And a lot of the time, unemployed men are not kind of in that equation. And again, Hi, my name is
Wow. Okay, sorry about that.
I don't say that to be hurtful. I just say that looking at of unemployed Americans didn't have a steady romantic partner compared.
Okay, you know what?
And I would like you to give you a few reasons.
I am going to go away from that because clearly,
compared with 32% among the employed. This is obviously nothing new. This is an 8 percentage point increase reported among their female peers. There are several potential explanations for this. Labor force participation among young men has fallen, particularly in the aftermath of the last recession. Researchers also see a connection between labor force participation and stable relationships, she said. The survey showed, for instance, that 54% of unemployed Americans didn't have a steady romantic partner, compared with 32% among the employed. This is obviously nothing new. This is a topic that has been discussed a lot, especially here on YouTube. We've talked about hypergamy before and the fact that even though now women are making more money and are more successful in the workforce, they still tend to go for men who are either at their level or still above them. So
that is a big point. Let's discuss that point right there. Hypergamy and the greater upward economic mobility of women, especially these days. Hypergamy is a big thing. And I think it's the main reason why less men are having sex these days. With the economy being as volatile as it is, with jobs being at a premium, especially good paying jobs, a lot more women these days are moving towards a greater selection and greater selectivity. And it is, and the fact of the matter is, as I said before, nothing going on but the rent. You got to have a job. So if you don't have a good job, a good paying, steady job, you're being put out of the sexual race. You're being put out of any sort of sexual availability. So it is imperative now more than ever. If you don't have good looks, if you don't have any sort of charm or way with the ladies, if you don't have a good job, you're basically being segmented out of the dating market, segmented out of the sexual marketplace. And that is nothing new. And now more than ever, that is the truth. Women are being much more selective these days, especially when since they are in the job and the race and in the job force, in the economy. And they're earning more money these days, and they're being more single and more independent. They are making choices for their betterment. And again, with hypergamy, if you don't know what hypergamy is when a lady would never date beneath their level of economic status. They'll only date above it. So if you find it, so for a lot of women these days, they don't wish to choose to have a gentleman who does not earn a good amount of money. They choose not to pertain to get involved with these gentlemen. These gentlemen are put into a separate category until you find work, until you find a job. Hello, Jay Don. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us on Talk Talk Live tonight. We are talking about why young men aren't having sex anymore, and this is I think the main reason, especially now tying into the into social media and social environments. I think it's a case of now gentlemen being priced out of the market. They used to. I mean, when it comes to dating and when it comes to dating and when it comes to sex, ladies usually run the market. And if the ladies don't find the selection that they want, they're not going to have sex with them. Simple as that. They aren't. And and ladies are voting with their feet now more than ever. Let me see if I can play a little bit more of this video here, so that you can hear what Courtney Ryan has to say.
This is no surprise. I was not surprised to see that 54% of unemployed men are not in relationships or don't have a romantic partner. You know, that just goes back to what women are attracted to and what women look for. And a lot of the time, unemployed men are not kind of in that equation.
So there you go. If you are unemployed or you are earning a lower wage, chances are you will not have the pick of any litter with any woman. And now, today more than ever, and that's something to be said. It is an issue that plagues us in this society, especially with less men being around, less eligible men. This even this shrinks the male market that much more. So if you don't have any sort of employment to which ladies deem attractive, deem sexually permissible, especially a profession or your own business or a steady paying job with many a pension or a benefit, you're going to lose. You're going to be the ultimate loser, and it'll be a while until you can get back into the dating market. Women are voting with their feet, and they're voting with their dollars. So the more money you have, the better chance of you having sex. There it is. So it went into a bit. It went into a bit more here, Courtney Ryan. Let me just see if I can cue that up here. Yeah, let me see here.
Virtual meetings have replaced in-person interactions. Pornography is the internet's most popular go-to. For many, sex is less an interpersonal relationship, no matter how shallow, and more an act in which the partner, if he or she exists, is a fantasy appendage. We are more into ourselves, into others less. Is it really such a surprise that sex is on the decline?
There it is, my people. It is, and people are finding other alternatives for sex now. They'd rather, masturbation is definitely on the rise. Use of sexual toys are definitely on the rise. And if especially with gentlemen, if they can't find a partner, they have to do it themselves. And if ladies can't find a partner, they'd rather have a sex toy or a partner to whom they feel attracted. They'd rather use a sex toy than use a man. They'd rather not go through the hardship. They'd rather not go through the heartache of going through kissing a few frogs to find their prince. It's as simple as that. Especially in the developed world, where you have that choice, where ladies are upwardly mobile. I think there's a greater chance for sex in patriarchal societies, yes, but not so here. Not so if you're talking about the Western world. A lot of men are being left out of the loop. And it's a problem these days. It is a really, really big problem. I had a picture. Yes, indeed. Here we go. I had a picture, but unfortunately I can't find it now. With I was looking at a video with Drake. I wish I could show you the picture here. Let me see if I could do it again. If I can't, then that is my fault, and I have to do better next time. So let me see here. No. Can't seem to do it. So we're gonna just head back to it. I was just wondering if you saw the video for Drake, and it the one for, what's the video here? Yes, indeed. Falling Back, where Drake had married, I think it was like 20, 25 wives at once. Great video, great song. If you ever had a chance to listen to it, I don't want to play it now for being copyright stricken, but it was Drake, and he was in a line of about 25 females that he wanted to marry. All beautiful, all readily available to him, and all willing to marry him. I think that shows the future of dating these days. It really does. Whereby, if you have the financial wherewithal, women are willing to sacrifice monogamy to be one of your wives. I think it's and I think a clear example of that is Nick Cannon. Think about Nick. Nick has about, I think, about 7 or 8 baby mothers, baby fathers. I think 7 or 8. Sorry, baby fathers. My bad. Sorry, Nick. No. We'll never accuse you of that. I'll never accuse you of that. It's baby mothers. 7 baby mothers unto himself. And we're saying to her, and he says he wants to, have a village and have many kids with many women, and he does, and he's there for them, each and every one of them, but he doesn't want to get married. He just wants to have a lot of kids. And women are willing to put up with it. Think about it. Women are willing to step up and say, okay, fine. If that's the case, I'm willing to have your child as long as I can be financially compensated for most of my life and for my child's life. Think about it. It's now an issue. It's now a big issue where a lot more sexual play is moving toward a lot fewer men these days, especially when it comes to millennials and when it comes to zennials. A lot less men are being given the pick of the litter when it comes to sexual activity, which is a problem. It's a huge problem, which means for a declining birth rate, which means to more incel, and leads to something a little more drastic in terms of society, which I'll reveal in a minute. But I was watching. Here we go. I was watching. Yes, indeed. Where is it now? I had it here. Yes. I was watching mediocre tutorials and reviews. And he basically had a video of him and LeBron, basically running down, LeBron running away from groupies, literally running away from groupies. They all knew he was married. They all knew he had children of his own. They all knew his marital status. They didn't care. They literally didn't care. They'd rather hang on to LeBron, a married man with children, than find a man of their own who may be of average salary. It's a problem, people. But that's what I would say the better among females are doing these days. They'd rather save themselves for a lottery ticket than they would anything else. And again, it is becoming an increasing issue. If you saw, it was literally LeBron running downstairs in order to get away from a bunch of groupies. He literally he couldn't stick around these ladies for some reason. And again, these ladies weren't letting him go. They weren't. They literally weren't. And I couldn't understand it for the life of me. But again, it is something that is becoming much more prominent these days. And again, I feel sorry for those who, for the younger generation. I really do. I really feel sorry for the younger generation, because at the end of the day, what hope do they have? Especially if they're young, especially if they're trying to build a career, especially if they're trying to build a life. Social media has made it so that them trying to succeed is a handicap. It's a huge handicap to which they may not get to which that may, disable them for their whole life. become incels for their whole life because they lack the courage, they lack the confidence, they lack the financial wherewithal to move forward and to have regular sex, regular families, and be eligible for young ladies these days. A lot of ladies would rather be among themselves or wait for their special guy or something or other in order to do it. Now, again, this isn't the majority, but this is the majority of things. I think for the most part that sex still, is there, but the numbers don't lie. A third of men aren't having sex these days. A third of men are out of it. Now, again, that deals with you not having the charisma, the sexual, the cool factor, the money in order to have sex these days. You don't have it, and if you don't have it, heaven help you. You know what I mean? And that's an issue that we fail to consider and realize. Okay.
What up, you?
Okay, that's a bit of an issue. All right, so we're gonna move on to another article here. Yes, indeed. And again, another thing that's destroying a lot of sexual that's destroying a lot of sexual activity are the fact that there are these new sexual identities, new genders these days, and a lot of heterosexual men these days are being priced out of are being taken out of the market altogether. They are. Let me see. Again, Miss Herbenik, again, who co-authored several studies about sexual activity. Her most recent research finds out that all of us, regardless of age, are having less sex, with the most dramatic decline among teenagers. Teenagers, again, I mean, it's not exactly the best time to have sex, but it's all, teenagers is the time for sexual discovery. And for a lot of teenagers, they're being out of the market because they don't have the money, they don't have the cool factor, they don't have a lot of charisma in which to find women. And again, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. But again, I must say,
What up, you too, man?
wow, shoot. Okay, I'm gonna cut that one out because that's just driving me crazy. Sorry about that. But again, you think to yourself that with teenagers it may be an issue, but again, I don't see sexual problems with the teenagers so much as young adults. I mean, 20 to 30 to 40-year-olds. I mean, 20 to 30-year-olds, millennials, zennials. This is where the problem lies, because again, they're not socially active. They're not. They don't have the wherewithal, charisma, career as of yet, in which to beguile certain women. And again, a lot of them are being social recluses, and on the border of becoming incels, and that's a problem. That's what's finding a lot of women, a lot of men not having sex at all, and women are making choices. And now that they're in the job market, now that they usually start jobs at 20 to 30, what these ladies are doing now, they're not looking past their peers. They're looking towards, the ballers, the entertainers, the young successful entrepreneurs, which are in the 1 percentile, and waiting on them to have sex. And if you don't have charisma, if you don't have any sort of wherewithal with the ladies, it's going to be a problem. And it's a huge problem, and it's much more so than it was 20 to 30 years ago, which is problematic. And the fact that there's a lot more sexual genders and sexual activity and ways of being sexually active. There are so many more alternatives. Women are looking away from men. A lot of heterosexual men. They're pricing them out. They're not being priced out of the market. They're being chosen for different alternatives, and that's a problem. That is a huge, huge problem. Now, again, I'm sorry for the screen not being active. Again, I thought that it would be available right now, but again, we are still on YouTube. Again, I see you on YouTube. If you have any questions or concerns, do let me know. I'm just going to get my screen up, see if there's any comments. And again, if you want to interact with me tonight, please do. Again, we are live on Talk Talk Live. We are live on IG and YouTube, and thank you very much for joining me tonight. So we're gonna move on to yes, indeed, we're gonna move on to a few more bits and bobs, but mainly let's move on to what happens to those who are those who have been priced out of the sexual market, those who have been asked to leave the sexual marketplace, those who cannot be a factor in the sexual marketplace. And there are dire consequences. Let me take you back to 2018. Remember remember Alex Minassian? I'm wondering if anybody knows the name of Alex Minassian. Anyone? No? Alex Minassian was the Toronto van attacker. Alex Minassian is one of those individuals who was ostracized from the sexual marketplace, from sexual activity. He was an incel. And as an incel, he basically, let me get it up here. As an incel, he basically, fostered and authored misogynistic materials. He basically grew very quite tired of not being a sexual participant. He considered himself an incel, and he grew a hatred, for lack of a better word, of women. So what did Mr. Minassian do? I don't know. I think you may not know the rest if you're on Talk Talk Live from anywhere around the world, but what Mr. Minassian decided to do, he decided to get in a van and drive down Yonge Street, killing 11 and injuring 50. That's what Alex decided to do. And it's a problem. It is a huge, huge problem because, again, for gentlemen who are considered not socially adept, to gentlemen who have been ostracized from the second marketplace due to the fact that they based on their looks, based on their job, based on funding, based on anything. One man decided to take it out on society and literally ran down the street. I'm reading from Wikipedia here. Yes, indeed. A domestic terrorist vehicle ramming occurred on October 23rd, 2018, where a rented van was driven along Yonge Street through North York City Center, a business district in Toronto, Ontario. The driver, Alex Minassian, targeted pedestrians, killing 11 and injuring 15, some critically. The incident was the deadliest vehicle ramming attack in Canadian history. And the attack started at the intersection of Yonge. Okay, we know what that is, but the attack is characterized as misogynistic terrorism because it was motivated by revenge for perceived social rejection by women. Men are starting to, unfortunately, take it out on society for the fact that they're having a lack of sex, for the fact that they are not involved in a relationship, a fulfilling relationship, for the fact that they are an incel. It's become nasty now, unfortunately. But unfortunately, this is not the first time. This was never the first time. This goes back many a year. So let's go back to, let's say, here. Indeed, I have an article from the McGill Tribune, a student magazine. Where they recall in February 2018, a young man stabbed a woman in Toronto massage parlor. That same year, another man killed another 10 people in a van attack. Well, we know about that. But let's go back to 1989, where a man barged into Montreal's École Polytechnique, just a few miles away from McGill, and murdered 14 engineering students, all of them women, with the common thread linking these attacks to an incel ideology. Chances are, unfortunately, and I wouldn't wish this on any woman, none, let me say that, but men, I'm just doing reporting, that men have decided to take their frustrations from women out on society, and even on women, going back as far as 1989. Incel ideology is a growing thing because women, as hypergamous as they wish to be in a free and open society, so be it. Absolutely, you have that right, but this is the side effect. This is the issue that all of us must deal with now. The fact that there are sexual activities for the few, and if they aren't distracted by TV or video games or any sort of streaming or any sort of binge watching, if they're not distracted by social media, if they feel ostracized from society, if they feel that they have been separated from any sort of sexual activity, they decide to take it out on society. That's what Alex Minassian did in 2018. He decided to take it out on society, which is not right. Not right, but again, it's something that unfortunately is going to happen more as time goes on. It may just happen more as time goes on. Because men, once they're frustrated and they don't have that sort of distraction, they don't have that release, they get angrier, more frustrated, and to those who do not seek the mental health that they need, they take it out on society, as it happened in April 23rd, 2018. So, the question is, what to do about it? Just another stat. There, before I move on, there were more than 34,200 reports of sexual assault countrywide in 2021, and 18% increase from 2020, according to new released numbers. While reports decreased in 2020, the rate of sexual assaults have otherwise steadily increased the last 5 years. Think about it. Now we're going to get serious. Men aren't having sex. Men seem to, unless you're a strong woman, let me say that. There are a lot of strong women out there. I've known them. I've seen them. If they cannot get sexual normal means, and they don't have the charisma, the money, and the social skills to have sex, Rodney Blackfoot, okay. All right, but again, yeah, indeed. I just read you the stats there. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Robinson. Sexual, you can hear it on the news all the time, guys. Sexual deviancy, sexual rape, sexual violence is up. It's up. And I'm going to show how things are linked together. And it's turning out to be an unfortunate theory. I wouldn't say it's fact, but it's theory. But as you can see by the stats, there are more sexual assaults happening every single day because women are seen as the weaker sex. Men aren't as free to have sex as they used to. Women are choosing to vote with their feet, and they choose to be more hypergamous. Hey Alfonso, how are you, sir? How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. But men are a lot more men are being denied as the lady was saying, half of unemployed men aren't having sex. If you're socially inept, if you're an incel, that's a problem. And more men are getting desperate. They're getting really desperate. So they're choosing to take it by any means, unfortunately, through sexual violence. So it is an issue. I mean, as I was speaking to Alfonso, I mean, we speak about this all the time. The fact that we have the sort of social skills in order to be eligible for it. I wouldn't say we have it on a regular basis, but if you do, so be it. But to those men who have the social skills, have the wherewithal with ladies, have the gift of gab, are able to chat to ladies, your chance of sexual activity are that much greater. But to this younger generation, the generation of the internet, the generation of social media, this generation of binge watching, the generation of incel activity. I'm not saying you're an incel, but there are activities that you may be beholden to. Then it's a problem. It's a huge problem if you don't have the social skills available in order to put yourself among the fair sex and shoot your shot, as they say. And a lot of these gentlemen who don't choose to upgrade themselves, who don't choose to get better jobs and to have and to be more socially adept, they either take it out on themselves, they take it out or they take it out on families, or they take it out on society in public in general, which is a sad thing, which is a sad state of affairs. And violence against women is definitely wrong. Definitely wrong, but I'm just reporting. Let me say that. Violence against women is abhorrent and should not be tolerated. I'll say that straight up. But I'm just telling you what's going on. What's happening in society today. So, what's I mean, it's a bit of a downer that way, but again, it's social media is a killer. Thank you, Alfonso. Social media is a killer. It is a definite killer. Yeah, a lot of these young guys are on it, and that's the thing about. But the thing about it is, Alfonso, is the fact that social media is contributing to ladies' wants and needs. If you ever see social media, they are a bad influence on ladies, to a point where a lot of ladies will not take a man without a job, without a six-figure salary, without a viable means of income, who doesn't have a six-pack, six figures, and is 6 feet tall. They rather not allow gentlemen near them who don't meet this criteria. No matter how you look, it's a problem. No matter how you look. And this has led to these negative statistics and these negative circumstances. So, and again, I abstain. I do not agree with it in the least. I feel, again, violence against women is wrong, but if you see the reason that leads to the violence, you seem to understand. There's an understanding that goes on here, even though it shouldn't be tolerated, but this is what leads to. I'm just telling you the steps. And that's what a lot of, and a lot of it has to do with, again, being alone at home on a computer with a group of friends online, yes, but there's no substitute for live social interaction. Being in public with people, knowing how to interact with people. I mean, it happens all the time. A lot of, especially black women, I love black women, let me say that. But with a lot of black women, you have to have a cool factor. If you don't have that cool factor, it's a problem for you. Now, again, other races may have different levels of cool, but with social media these days, these levels of cool are starting to blend. They're starting to blend. So if you don't have a level of cool to which ladies find attractive, and this is going for every race now, it's a problem. It's a problem. Again, thank you for joining me live on YouTube and on IG. The problem that we're talking about, why men are having less sex these days. Young men, millennials, zennials. I tend to be out of that category myself. So again, and that's an advantage for those who are a bit older, who tend to be, I would say late millennials, early zennials. I mean, no, late, like Gen Xers and older millennials. They don't have this problem. It's because they lived and they grew up at a time where social interaction was still the way of the day. And for a lot of people who haven't been, especially young, who haven't been given these social skills, who haven't been able to pick up from their families, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. I mean, in my life, I won't identify what had gone on. But again, my nephew went out for prom. He was the only one with a date. Only one. Out of all of his friends, he was the only one with a date. Back when I had prom, it was about 50-50. Some guys had dates, some guys didn't. But this one, it was only one man with the. It was only one young man with the date, and I found that astonishing. But I understood why. I totally understood why. The nephew had charisma. He was 6 feet tall. He may not have money, but he was a social genius. He can find his way through a room. And I cannot say that for most men these days. They hide behind their social media and their binge watching and their video games and their online gaming. And they can't interact with females, and it's a problem. So how do we fix it? That's the question. How do we fix it? Well, I'll tell you. How we fix it is this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have sons and daughters of a millennial or zennial age, it's time to have a chat with them. You literally do. This is from the heart. It may be up to you, but you need to have a chat with them in terms of their social skills. You have to challenge them. You have to ask them, you have to look and see if they have any friends, if they have any interactions with people, if they actually go out, if they actually have social networks that are offline. Because this is one of the factors that lead to incel activity. You need to ask the question of if these kids interact or have a group of friends to whom they call their own. If they don't, that's a problem. That's a red flag. That is a huge red flag that needs to be addressed in due course. You need to have a chat with them. You need to say, listen, if they live at school and they come home and they literally play video games all day, that's a problem. That is a huge problem. But if they have social skills that you can see happen in public, that's fine. I mean, listen, I have family to whom, luckily for him, even though he is a gamer, he is online, he is doing he does that thing. He luckily has a girlfriend who is in-house, who he has social interactions with, who he can vibe with, who he can call his own. And that's half the battle. So you don't have a sexually frustrated man. He's usually a calm, cool, collected individual. He was lucky because the lady walked into his life quite simply out of the blue. And it's a godsend that it happened. Because he's one of those introverted guys who, yes, has social skills, but isn't exactly going out searching and being a public figure or just being in public. Period. He'd rather go to school and come home and play video games, and that's that. But that's cool because he has a girlfriend who likes him to be that way and to whom he can interact. Let me say that. Because, again, it's family and I don't want to put myself out there. But that's one thing. You need to challenge your children and see if indeed they are socially active. That they actually get out in public and have normal relationships with people their age. They don't have to be older, they don't have to be younger, just people their age. Either in high school or university or college. They need to have these sort of interactions. That's one thing. That's the first thing you can do. The second thing I can see these gentlemen do is pick up a sporting activity. Like literally pick up something that they like being around. And I mean in public. Now you can play sports. You can play sports online. I'm not talking about sports online. I am not talking about sports online. That's why it is so imperative that kids get into sports. Any sport they like. Because that forces social interaction. It does. It literally does. I was a coach for 10 years. Soccer coach. And let me say, there are many introverted kids in my circle at a time. And they were on the verge of being one of those incels. And it's through our interactions on a weekly basis that they came out of their shells. Literally. Being involved in any sporting activity, being involved in any club, being involved in any sort of activity in which you are in public with people is huge. Now more than ever, it's huge because society is severing themselves from each other little by little, bit by bit. And a way to make things better for our young people is to interact with each other more often. And that, if they're doing something that they enjoy, even better. And that lies through sporting activity. For me, it was sporting activity. For anyone else, it could be a chess club. It could be a math club. It could be drama. It could be something. But get them involved in some sort of activity, especially during their high school years. Because that carries on into college and university, where they'll like interacting with people, where they'll like going out with people, where they'll build the social skills necessary for them to be sexually eligible. Let me say that. If for anything else, that is key. Get them outside of their house in some way, shape, or form that they like. Don't force things upon them, but get them outside doing things that they like to do. Because if you have them in the house most of the day, if not all day, they get this in. They become insecure. They become introverted. They become within themselves. There's a greater chance, I think, of some sort of depressive activity, and it may be a problem. Again, if you form social networks online, so be it, but there's nothing like you having social skills in public, especially for work, especially for any sort of social activity, including sex. Go figure. Third thing, I would say, that would make things better for our millennials and zennials who are not having sex. Remember, 1 out of 3 are out of the sexual marketplace. Out. is to train your body in some way, shape, or form. Literally train your body. Be it through weight training, through self-defense, through CrossFit, anything. Because with training your body, it builds self-confidence. It builds self-confidence in you. If you are someone who, now let's say you as a young person, you interact with sports all the time, but yet you're out of sporting activities and you tend to be a little more introverted, I would advise you to pick up some sort of self-defense skill, or just to get in the gym and build your body, build up your self-confidence. Because with a better body comes better self-confidence. Believe me, I lived it. I lived it. The better your body is, the more confident you feel, the better you interact around women. And that is one of the things that women key up on, is the fact that if you have a body that they deem attractive, your chances of sexual activity go way up. Your confidence levels go way up. Your self-esteem levels go way up. Your health goes way up. But again, it's your choice. To those who are sitting at home right now, who are inactive for the most part, you're doing yourself a disservice. Both physically, socially, and sexually. You're doing yourself a disservice. You need to get out there and interact with the public. And one of the great things to interact with the public with is being at a gym. I have my man on Falso here, and that's where you learn social skills, guys. Because you meet friends, you interact with people, you gain self-confidence for about, however much it is a month. No better way to build up your self-esteem and your and your chance of sexual activity than being in a gym. 1 hour a week. I wouldn't say 1 hour a week. 2 or 3 times a week. Let's say 3 times a week. I challenge you. And if you're a parent of one of these kids, they may not be, I would say get them into some sort of sporting activity. That's the first thing. The next thing is, when they're of age, put them in a gym. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. And it's a way of evening the playing field for little money. Little money. Again, thank you for joining us on Chalk Talk Live here on IG and YouTube. Again, we had a little malfunction with the YouTube, but again, we will be back online this Thursday. We are here on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, Tuesday night tonight, and I thank you for joining me. And what would be the final thing? Let me see. The final thing that we can do as a people is to, reach out to incels. Reach out to them. Have a chat with them. Be their friends. Talk to these people before it may be too late. Don't give up on them. Encourage them. Be their vessel. Build their self-confidence. We got to build our self-confidence in young people, especially now more than ever. We got to let them know that life happens outside, not inside. Again, life happens out there, not inside your doors. And the more closed off you are from society, the more we have to worry. We have to worry about you. And I don't want to, listen, again, I don't want sexual violence against women. I hate it. I abhor it. I've never hit a woman. I don't want anybody hitting women. I don't want any violence against women. But women are making decisions to which men must adapt. So it's on gentlemen in and of itself. We have to make it so that we are better men. And that leads me to my fifth alternative and reason and idea in terms of shutting off incel activity, and that is to stay on your purpose, stay on your grind. That is, make as much, and I learned this from Media Tutorial Reviews, shout out to him, and that is to make yourself as indispensable as you can be. Financially, I'm talking about. Getting yourself into a job that will pay you as much as you can do as possible. Now, I know if you are a hardworking man at a lower wage, so be it. If that's what you want to do, so be it. As long as you do it to the best of your ability. But it's up to us men to raise the stakes and to jump into the workforce with an added fervor, because women are voting with their feet these days, guys. Women are getting more and more hypergamous, not less, more. And it is up to us to match up. Now, again, let me say this for gentlemen. It's when it comes to relationship and marriage, things even out. But I'm talking about the young here. I'm talking about the young, where things are a bit of an more even playing field. In fact, it highly skews toward women than men. Especially if you're under 30. Gentlemen, you have to be on your purpose and your grind. Don't let these ladies steer you off your purpose. Be focused, be attentive, realize that the further you go career-wise, the better your chances are with women. It is linear, this idea. The further you go in your career, the better you do in your career, the better your chances we have with women. Now more than ever. Women aren't taking any more chances. They're not half-stepping anymore. There are those who do. There are a few who do, but for the most part, they're not. They are simply not. And we need to make that abundantly clear. That's the number one thing. That's the last and the number one thing that I have to advise you on. Don't be in a dead-end job. Because now more than ever, women are voting with their feet. If you're in a dead-end job, or something you don't like to do, or something that's a little... listen, and you lack social skills, and all these things go against... and all these different disadvantages go against you, it's a problem. It's a huge problem. And women are voting with their feet. Remember, women are hypergamous by nature, especially in this world. Now, there's an even odds thing, but in terms of, flying to different patriarchal societies in order to, be more of a catch there. But again, that costs money. That definitely costs money. So anywhere around the world, it's the same story. And it's up to you to make yourself that much greater in terms of the workplace, in order for you to better yourself in the sexual marketplace. That means if you have to work more hours, so be it. If you have to make yourself work longer hours, so be it. If you have to take on more education, so be it. It's all for a purpose these days, guys. It really is. And women are, and again, women have made it clear that if you are not of a certain standard, and you don't have good looks, and you don't have charisma, you don't have cool factor, if you don't have some sort of prowess physically, then it can be a problem. Then it can be a problem. And again, I don't want to. I don't want another April 23rd, 2018. I don't want an Alex Minassian, but that could happen. That could happen. But it's up to us to take it upon ourselves so that it doesn't happen. And if you see violence anywhere against women, that needs to be stopped. Let's say that. We have to do better, men. We have to do better. So I'm holding us to account. This is one of the few things where I'm holding gentlemen to account. We're part of the problem. We need to be part of the solution. Now, we can go on with ladies and their attitudes and, you know, how out of whack they may be, but this is not the show for that. We're talking about men and the fact that they are having less sex these days. 1 out of 3 men are having less sex than ever. And in this hypergamous environment, there is a reason. And we have to do better. We have to do better. And if you're not as lucky as some, then you have to work on yourself. You have to work hard like anywhere else in this life in order to better yourself. And once you do, you reap the benefits. You can be that Drake and marry 23 wives at a time. Well, that takes focus. That takes drive. That takes passion. That takes a lot of hours of hard work away from the spotlight. And that's in terms of your social skills. That's in terms of your physical abilities. That's in terms of your financial prowess. Things got to change. And that's the way things have to change, guys. We have to measure up. We have to do better. So again, things aren't changing. The world is the way it is. The developed world is the way it is, and we got to do better. And that's the part of the reason why, you know, men aren't having sex these days, because this economy is unrelenting and unforgiving. And unless you are one of the better earners in this economy, your sexual chances will unfortunately decline. And and the only way to change it is through you. You have to take it upon yourself to make yourself a better individual. And we have to stop blaming ladies for what it is. But if you have to get